I would like to discuss a little bit the CAR-T development in B-cell lymphoma those days. As everybody knows, 2017 has been the early onset of clinical trials with CAR-T therapy, and I think this will continue with development of CAR-T trials in the field of diffuse large B-cell in 2018. What we have learned is that there was a possibility to develop and manufacture CAR T-cell directed against CD19, and this CAR construct, when we're transducing CAR T-cell and reinfused to the patient, we're providing a high rate of response to patients. Early results in patients with very refractory DLBCL, primary mediastinal lymphoma, as well as transformed follicular lymphoma, have shown that in patients who were highly refractory to chemotherapy, this treatment as a single infusion can provide a very high response rate from 50 up to 85%, with about 40% of the patient achieving a complete remission. What was very interesting in the early results that were presented at ASH by different groups using different products manufactured by different companies was the initial observation that the complete remission rate that was observed at 3 or 6 months appeared to be stable up to 1 year or even 15 months, suggesting that about a third or 40% of these patients, again, highly refractory, having failed transplant and so on, might be an ongoing remission and eventually cured. This is a high difference as compared to former results on patients that had failed prior therapy that were recapitulated in the SCHOLAR study, where the response rate, complete response rate, was 6 to 7%, and the median survival was in the range of 6.7 months. Here we clearly have much higher response rate, and the median survival has not been achieved for some of these patients. So clearly this is encouraging result. So the next questions are two types. The first one is, how do we bring these compounds to our patients nowadays? And I think many centers in Europe and across the world are working hard in order to get installed to promote CAR T-cell therapy for their patient. This is a real multidisciplinary effort involving hemato-oncologists, but also colleagues from the blood bank and blood centers, colleagues from the pharmacy, colleagues from the ICU to manage the side effect. So it's a big effort in order to bring to our patient this therapy. The second point is, where is this kind of therapy being developed in the next few years? And what we will see, given the early result of CAR-T, are clinical trials that will compare CAR-T therapy to autologous stem cell transplant in the first relapse of DLBCL. These trials are going to start in 2018, and we really like to see in a few years whether CAR-T will be the new kind of therapy for patients that had failed first-line therapy, or even for patients with very high-risk feature at diagnosis. So this is a new world of hemato-oncology opening, and I think we have to follow that, encourage that, and support colleagues involved in this field.